The order to conserve fire. April 14, 1943. 26,000 feet above the Ruhr Valley, Germany. The cold is the first thing you feel. It creeps through the seams of the B-17 like a living thing, numbing fingers even through heated gloves. Frost feathers along the inside of the plexiglass turret, and every breath inside the aircraft fogs the air before being torn away by vibration and engine roar. The bomber shudders as flak bursts bloom nearby, black puffs hanging for a moment like stains in the sky. Staff Sergeant William "Bill" Harlan is wedged into the waist gunner position on the starboard side, boots braced, knees bent to absorb the aircraft's constant trembling. He has been airborne for nearly 6 hours. His eyes ache from scanning the pale blue horizon, sweeping from cloud layer to cloud layer, hunting for movement that does not belong. Below them, the industrial spine of Germany crawls past, rivers like dull steel ribbons, factories half hidden by haze. Above them, contrails from earlier bomber streams twist and fade. This is supposed to be the most dangerous part of the mission. Deep penetration. No friendly fighters. Only discipline keeps men alive here. Harlan checks his ammunition cans by touch, fingers brushing cold brass. Each belt is precious. Before takeoff, the briefing officer drilled it into them again and again. Fire only when fired upon. Short bursts. Confirmed range only. Every round wasted now is a round you will beg for later. The intercom crackles in his headset, distorted by engine noise. Stay sharp, boys. We're entering the box. That word, box, carries weight. It means the enemy knows exactly where they are. Harlan shifts his shoulders, feeling the weight of his flak vest, the steel helmet pressing low on his brow. He peers through the gun sight again. At first, there is nothing. Just cloud glare and sunlit emptiness. Then he sees it. A flicker, far out, barely more than a shadow against the brightness. Then another. And another. Dots forming, aligning, moving with purpose. Bandits, 3 o'clock high, someone calls over the intercom, voice tight. The formation tightens instinctively. Engines adjust. The bomber line holds steady, massive silver aircraft locked wingtip to wingtip. German fighters begin to resolve into shape. Messerschmitt Bf 109s, their angular noses catching the sun, moving in loose pairs. They are still distant, still outside what the gunners have been told is effective range. Harlan's mouth goes dry. Do not fire yet, the squadron commander's voice snaps through the radio. Hold your fire. Hold your fire. The fighters slide into position with terrifying calm. They are not diving straight in. They are pacing the bombers, studying angles, counting guns. Harlan tracks one with his barrels, watching the pilot's canopy flash. He knows this pattern. He has seen it once before over Bremen. The Germans probe first. They draw fire. They make gunners nervous. Then, when the belts run thin, they come in hard. Harlan flexes his fingers on the triggers. The fighters begin to close. Not fast. Controlled. Confident. Range still long, the navigator calls. Don't give it to them. A flak burst detonates below the formation, rocking the bomber. Harlan slams his shoulder against the fuselage, steadies himself, keeps his eyes locked forward. The fighters are closer now. Close enough that Harlan can see crosses on wings. Close enough to imagine faces behind glass. He feels the urge rising in his chest, a pressure that has nothing to do with altitude. If he waits, they will time it perfectly. If he waits, they will rake the formation from stem to stern. He squeezes the trigger. The twin .50 caliber machine guns come alive with a thunder that drowns out everything else. The barrels vibrate violently, brass casing spraying across the fuselage floor, clattering like hail. Tracer rounds arc out into open sky, bright lines stitching toward the approaching fighters. Cease fire! Cease fire! The radio explodes with shouted commands. Harlan does not release the trigger. He adjusts his aim, deliberately, not spraying wildly but walking the tracers through the space the fighters must pass. The sky between them becomes hostile, a moving wall of light. Waist gunner, stop shooting. You're out of range. Harlan's jaw locks. He can see it now. The fighters hesitate. One breaks slightly left. Another rolls its wings, aborting the clean approach it had been setting up for minutes. He keeps firing. The recoil slams through his arms. The smell of burned powder fills his oxygen mask. His ammunition count drops fast, every second draining belts that cannot be replaced. But the pattern is broken. The German formation loses its smooth geometry. Instead of one coordinated attack run, the fighters scatter into evasive movement, forced to react instead of dictate. Stop firing, goddammit, someone yells. Harlan does not answer. He is no longer listening to voices. He is watching pilots who expected silence, not resistance. He is watching timing unravel. The fighters begin to peel away, not diving in, not committing. Just enough distance to regroup. Harlan finally releases the trigger. The guns fall silent. The sudden quiet is deafening. His arms shake as he exhales. Outside, the enemy fighters are no longer closing. They are pulling back, circling wide, reassessing. For the moment, the bomber stream remains intact. The consequence of defiance. The intercom is alive with overlapping voices now, some angry, some frightened, some trying to sound calm and failing. Who fired early? Check your ammo status. Waist gunner, respond. Staff Sergeant Bill Harlan rests his forehead briefly against the cold metal frame of the fuselage. His breath comes fast, fogging the oxygen mask. He glances down at the ammunition can. One belt is nearly half gone. The weight of that fact settles heavier than the recoil ever did. I did, he finally says into the mic. His voice sounds distant to his own ears. Starboard waist. There is a pause. The kind that stretches long enough for a man to imagine consequences. You were ordered to hold fire, the aircraft commander says, his tone clipped, controlled. We can't afford that kind of burn rate. Harlan swallows. He looks back out through the plexiglass. The fighters are still there, but farther now. They have spread into a loose ring, circling like wolves that have been startled but not chased off. I know, sir, Harlan replies. But they were setting up something big. Another pause. Then a different voice cuts in, lower, older. He's not wrong, says Lieutenant Frank Delaney, the co-pilot. They backed off. No one answers that immediately. The bomber formation drones onward, engines locked at a steady pitch. The roar slides beneath them, smokestacks and rail lines crawling past. Flak begins to thicken, bursts popping closer now, rattling the aircraft like a fist on a door. Each explosion sends sharp metallic fragments whining through the air, punching holes in aluminum skin. Harlan resets his stance, checks his guns, wipes condensation from the sight glass. His arms ache already, muscles tight from tension and cold. He forces himself to slow his breathing. Minutes stretch. 10. 15. The fighters do not leave. Instead, they reorganize. Harlan watches them gather again, this time lower, using the sun. The light washes the sky in blinding white, turning approaching shapes into silhouettes until the last moment. This is textbook. This is what they were trained to do. Bandits regrouping, Harlan reports. 6 o'clock high, moving in. Hold fire, the commander says immediately. All gunners hold fire until they commit. Harlan feels his jaw clench again. He tracks the lead fighter, counting seconds, measuring distance by instinct more than calculation. He remembers the briefing charts. Effective range. Probability of hit. Ammunition discipline. He also remembers Bremen. The way the first pass shattered the formation. The way men screamed over the radio as aircraft peeled off trailing smoke. The fighters accelerate. This time, they are coming faster. Steeper. Not probing. Committing. Steady, Delaney says. Steady. The first fighter opens fire. Tracer round streak past the bomber, green lines flashing inches from the fuselage. Another fighter follows, cannons flashing. The air fills with noise and vibration as multiple gunners open up in response. Harlan waits half a second longer. Then he fires again. Not a panic burst. Not wild spray. He fires sustained, controlled streams, aiming not at where the fighters are, but where they must fly. His tracers carve corridors through the sky, forcing the attackers to jink and roll earlier than planned. Cease fire, waste, the commander barks. You're bleeding ammo. Harlan ignores it. A Messerschmitt flashes across his field of view, so close he sees the pilot's helmet. The fighter snaps into a hard roll, attack angle ruined. Another aborts its dive entirely, pulling up and away to avoid the converging fire. Something changes in the enemy's behavior. Harlan feels it more than sees it. The clean, rehearsed sequence dissolves into individual reactions. Fighters attack singly instead of in waves. Timing slips. Guns fire too early or too late. The bomber takes hits. A round punches through the fuselage behind Harlan, tearing metal and spraying insulation. Another cracks against the turret glass, spiderwebbing it but not breaking through. Hydraulics holding, someone reports. Tail gunner still green. Number 3 engine stable. Harlan keeps firing until the belt runs dry. The guns click empty. He slams a fresh belt into place with shaking hands, muscles burning, fingers numb. He looks down again. Another can is nearly gone. For a moment, the fighters pull away again, climbing out of range. The formation breathes, if such a thing is possible at 26,000 feet. The intercom crackles. Harlan, the commander says, quieter now. You keep that up, you won't have anything left for the ride home. Harlan does not argue. He just says, understood, sir. Outside, the German fighters are farther off than before. Not gone. But hesitant. Their passes are shorter now. Less aggressive. They fire and break instead of pressing through. Lieutenant Delaney speaks again, voice steady. They're not coordinating like before. No one disagrees. Harlan rests his finger along the trigger guard, not pulling, not relaxing either. He watches the sky, reading movement, feeling the moment before it arrives. The bomber stream presses deeper into enemy airspace. The worst is not over. But something has shifted. The fighters have learned that this formation will not stay silent. Breaking the pattern. The mission clock keeps turning. Every minute over Germany feels longer than the last. Fuel is burned, oxygen thins, and nerves stretched tight enough to snap. Below, the Ruhr is giving way to open countryside, but that does not mean safety. The German fighters remain in the air, and Harlan knows they are patient. He watches them drift in the distance, 4, then 6, then more shapes sliding into view from different angles. They are no longer massing in a single direction. Instead, they spread, probing the formation's edges, testing reactions. This is different. Watch the stragglers, the commander warns. Stay locked in. Harlan shifts his weight, scanning left and right. His breath rasps in his ears. The guns feel heavier now, the vibration still echoing in his arms from earlier bursts. He forces his hands steady. A lone fighter dives toward the low squadron, firing a short burst before breaking away. Almost immediately, another follows from a different angle. Then another. The attacks are not coordinated. They are sharp, sudden, and cautious. "They're pecking at us," Delaney says. "Trying to draw fire." Harlan recognizes it instantly. The Germans are adjusting. His earlier defiance has changed the rhythm of the fight. Instead of overwhelming the formation in synchronized waves, they are now reacting, adapting, improvising. One fighter slips into his sector, crossing from high to low. Harlan tracks it but does not fire. He waits until the aircraft commits to its line. Then he squeezes the trigger again, short this time, a disciplined burst. The tracers streak out. The fighter snaps away, abandoning its run without firing a shot. "Good hits?" someone asks. "No hits," Harlan replies. But he didn't like it. The commander does not reprimand him this time. There is no order to cease fire. Just the steady drone of engines and the crack of distant gunfire. Flak suddenly erupts closer than before. A burst detonates off the port wing, rocking the bomber violently. Harlan is thrown sideways, his shoulder slamming into the fuselage. He catches himself, heart hammering, then looks back out. Smoke trails briefly from another B-17 2 positions ahead, but it stabilizes and holds formation. The box stays together. The German fighters circle again, farther out now, as if unsure how to approach. Their previous advantage was timing. That timing is gone. "Bandits disengaging," the tail gunner reports. "They're pulling wide." Harlan does not relax. He knows better. Disengaging does not mean retreating. It means reassessing. Minutes pass. The sky grows strangely quiet, broken only by the constant thunder of engines and the occasional flak burst. Harlan's muscles begin to ache in earnest now, fatigue creeping in as adrenaline fades. He flexes his fingers, feeling stiffness, then shakes out his arms. He checks his ammunition again. 2 cans remain. Less than he would like. Enough, maybe, if used right. Then the fighters come back. This time from below. They rise out of the cloud layer beneath the formation, dark shapes climbing fast, cannon flashes flickering as they fire upward. Tracers whip past the bomber's belly, some striking home with sharp metallic clangs. Harlan pivots his guns downward, fighting the awkward angle. He fires in long, deliberate arcs, not aiming at individual aircraft but at the space they must cross to reach firing position. The effect is immediate. One fighter breaks off early. Another hesitates, then rolls inverted to escape the converging fire. None press in close. "Holy hell," someone mutters over the intercom. The bomber shudders as another round punches through the fuselage, but the damage is minor. The fighters withdraw again, climbing hard, abandoning the attack entirely. For the first time since entering enemy airspace, there is a stretch of real distance between the bombers and the interceptors. The commander exhales audibly over the radio. They're done. At least for now. No one celebrates. They know better than that. But the tension shifts, just slightly. The edge dulls. Harlan rests his guns, keeping his eyes on the sky. He feels the weight of what he has done settling in. He disobeyed orders. He burned ammunition. He risked being defenseless later. But the formation is still intact. No bomber has fallen out of the box. No parachutes drift in the distance. Delaney speaks quietly. "Whatever you did back there, it threw them off." Harlan does not respond. He is watching the horizon, where the fighters are shrinking into dots, unsure whether to return. Below, the countryside continues to slide past. Ahead lies the target, and beyond it, the long flight home. The enemy has not been destroyed, but something fundamental has been disrupted. The Germans expected silence until the moment of impact. Instead, they found a wall of fire waiting for them. Over the target. The bomb run begins without ceremony. No dramatic announcement, no pause in the engine's relentless rhythm. Just a subtle change in posture throughout the aircraft as every man knows they are now committed. Ahead, the lead bomber steadies, and one by one the rest of the formation locks in behind it, altitude and speed fixed with ruthless precision. Harlan feels the shift through his boots as the B-17 settles into its final approach. The aircraft becomes less a machine and more a rail bound to an invisible track. Deviating now would mean collision. Deviating later would mean death. Bomb bay doors open, the bombardier calls. The temperature inside drops another degree as the doors yawn wide beneath them. Wind roars up through the fuselage, tugging at clothing and equipment. The smell of cold metal and oil sharpens. Below, the target resolves into detail. Rail yards, factory roofs, smokestacks. Flak batteries ring the complex, already awake and angry. Black bursts begin to climb toward them, closer and more frequent than before. Flak heavy, the navigator reports. Stay steady. The first explosion rocks the bomber hard enough to throw Harlan sideways. He slams into the bulkhead, teeth rattling, then rights himself and looks out. Shrapnel whistles past, some of it striking the fuselage with a sound like handfuls of gravel hurled at a tin roof. Harlan's eyes flick back to the sky around them. The fighters are not immediately visible. That worries him more than their presence ever did. They'll try now, Delaney says quietly. They always do. Sure enough, shapes appear again, small at first, then growing fast. The German fighters surge in from multiple angles, using the chaos of flak to mask their approach. Cannon flashes sparkle among the black bursts. Bandits inbound, the tail gunner shouts. Multiple vectors. Harlan feels the familiar tightening in his chest. His ammunition is low. There will be no sustained fire this time. Every burst must count. He waits. The first fighter lines up on the bomber ahead, firing as it climbs through the formation. Harlan tracks it, timing his burst until the aircraft is fully committed. Then he fires, short and sharp. The fighter snaps away, tracers falling harmlessly behind it. Another follows, closer this time. Harlan fires again, walking his tracers through the fighter's path. The German pilot brakes hard, abandoning the run entirely. Around him, other gunners open fire. The sky becomes a tangled mess of tracers, flak, and twisting aircraft. But something is different from earlier in the mission. The fighters do not linger. They fire and peel away. They do not press in close. They do not coordinate. They're rushing it, someone says. They're not setting up. The bombardier's voice cuts through everything. Bombs away. The aircraft jolts as its load drops free. The sudden lightness is unmistakable. Harlan watches as the bomb bay doors snap shut again, sealing out the roaring wind. Below, the first explosions bloom across the target. Fire and smoke rise in thick columns, spreading outward as more bombs strike. The rail yard disappears beneath a rolling wave of destruction. But there is no time to watch. The formation begins its turn away from the target, banking slowly, carefully, every aircraft matching the movement of the lead. This is when bombers are most vulnerable. Disorganized. Predictable. The German fighters know it too. They surge again, but without the patience they showed earlier. Attacks come singly or in pairs, each pilot trying to seize a fleeting opening. Harlan fires his last sustained burst, emptying another belt. The guns fall silent with a hollow click. He slams in his final belt, hands trembling, heart pounding. A fighter streaks past his position, so close the slipstream buffets the bomber. Harlan fires a short burst. The fighter rolls away, attack aborted. Then, suddenly, there are fewer of them. The sky opens up. The fighters pull back, climbing hard, breaking contact instead of reforming. Bandits disengaging, the tail gunner reports again, disbelief creeping into his voice. They're breaking off. Harlan scans the horizon. The dots are retreating, shrinking, fading into distance. Not regrouping. Leaving. Inside the bomber, no one speaks for several seconds. The engines roar on, steady and indifferent. Finally, the commander exhales. All right. Let's get the hell out of here. Harlan leans back against the fuselage, exhaustion washing over him. His arms feel like lead. His ammunition is nearly gone. But the formation is still intact. Behind them, the target burns. Ahead lies the long flight home, and a sky that, for the first time since crossing the coast, is empty of enemy fighters. The long way home. The turn away from the target stretches into minutes that feel unreal. The bomber noses west, engine straining as altitude is slowly regained. The violence fades behind them, replaced by a vast, unsettling quiet. No fighters. No immediate flak. Just the steady, punishing drone of 4 engines and the hiss of oxygen through rubber hoses. Harlan remains at his guns. He does not sit. He does not relax. He has learned that the sky punishes men who assume the danger has passed. His final ammunition belt hangs half-spent. The empty cans at his feet rattle softly with the vibration of the aircraft. He nudges one aside with his boot, clearing space in case he needs to move fast. Damage report, the commander orders. One by one, voices answer. Tail section intact. Radio operational. Hydraulics steady. Minor hole starboard side, nothing structural. When it is his turn, Harlan speaks plainly. Starboard waist operational. Low ammo. There is no rebuke this time. Just an acknowledgement. The formation settles into its outbound spacing. Some aircraft trail faint smoke, others carry jagged scars where flak or cannon rounds punched through aluminum skin. But none are dropping out. None are falling behind. That fact alone feels impossible. Minutes stretch into an hour. The adrenaline drains away, leaving behind a bone-deep fatigue that settles into Harlan's shoulders and lower back. His fingers ache from gripping the triggers. He rolls his neck carefully, fighting stiffness. The cold creeps back in. Below them, the industrial heartland gives way to farmland, then to rivers and roads leading west. The sense of exposure remains constant. Every cloud bank feels like a hiding place. Every glint of sunlight looks like a wingtip. Then the tail gunner's voice crackles again. Possible contacts, 6 o'clock low. Long range. Harlan snaps alert instantly, rotating his guns, searching the pale blue haze. He spots them a moment later. 3 shapes, far out, moving slowly. Not closing fast. Not committing. They're shadowing, Delaney says. Seeing if anyone falls out. Harlan watches carefully. The fighters keep their distance, refusing to close. They are cautious now. A behavior he has not seen earlier in the war. Don't take the bait, the commander says. Let them be. Harlan does. He tracks them without firing, conserving what little ammunition he has left. The fighters linger for several minutes, then gradually peel away, one by one, disappearing into cloud. No attack follows. The coastline finally appears beneath them, gray water stretching to the horizon. The relief that sweeps through the aircraft is almost physical. Crossing friendly coast, the navigator announces. Only then does Harlan allow himself to step back from the guns. His legs feel unsteady as he eases into a sitting position, bracing himself against the fuselage. He pulls his oxygen mask aside and takes a shallow breath of stale, oil-tinged air. Delaney's voice comes over the intercom, softer now. Hell of a job back there, Harlan. Harlan stares at the empty sky outside his window. I just kept shooting. The co-pilot lets out a short laugh. Yeah. That's one way to put it. The bomber continues west, engines unwavering. Below, the sea slides past, indifferent and calm. The danger is not fully gone, but it is fading with every mile. Harlan glances down at the last of his ammunition, then back out at the horizon. He knows there will be questions waiting on the ground. Aftermath and understanding. The landing field appears through broken cloud like something imagined rather than real. Long strips of steel matting glint dully in the afternoon light, ringed by revetments and parked aircraft scarred from missions just like this one. As the bomber descends, Harlan feels the pressure in his ears change, the engines throttling back at last. The wheels hit the ground hard. The aircraft shudders, bounces once, then settles into a rolling rumble. Only when the bomber slows to taxi speed does Harlan realize his hands are still clenched, fingers locked as if around invisible triggers. Engines wind down. Props feather. Silence creeps in, awkward and unfamiliar after hours of noise. The crew climbs out one by one, stiff and quiet, boots crunching on the hardstand. Ground crew swarm the aircraft immediately, pointing at flak holes, counting damage, running hands over torn aluminum skin. Harlan drops to the ground last. His legs nearly buckle. He steadies himself against the fuselage, palm pressed to cold metal that is still warm from flight. Ammo count, a sergeant asks, clipboard in hand. Harlan hesitates, then answers honestly. Nearly dry. The sergeant raises an eyebrow but says nothing, marking it down. They are called into debriefing within the hour. A low building, bare walls, a long table stained with coffee rings and cigarette burns. Maps cover one side of the room. The air smells of smoke and damp wool. The squadron commander stands at the head of the table. He does not sit. Losses, he asks. A staff officer clears his throat. None from this group, sir. Damage, yes. No aircraft lost. That earns a pause. A long one. The commander's eyes move slowly across the crew, then settle on Harlan. You disobeyed a direct order today. Yes, sir, Harlan replies, standing straighter than his aching muscles would like. You burned through ammunition at a rate we do not encourage. Yes, sir. Another pause. The intelligence officer speaks next. German fighter activity during the mission was irregular. Early disengagements. Poor coordination. Short attack runs. He taps a pencil against the table. We haven't seen that before at this depth. The commander exhales slowly. Why did you keep firing, Sergeant? Harlan chooses his words carefully. They were setting their timing, sir. If we stayed quiet, they'd come in clean. I wanted to make them react instead. The room is silent. Finally, the commander nods once. You forced them to break their pattern. He looks around the table. That may have saved aircraft today. Harlan does not feel triumph. Only exhaustion. The debrief ends without punishment. Without praise either. Just a few notes taken down, a few glances exchanged. Doctrine does not change in a single afternoon. But word spreads anyway. In the days that follow, other gunners begin firing earlier. Not wildly. Not carelessly. Deliberately. Engineers and tacticians take notes. They talk about suppressive fire, about disrupting approach geometry, about denying enemy pilots clean firing solutions. What Harlan did is no longer dismissed as wasteful. It is studied. Weeks later, over another hostile sky, German fighters hesitate again. And again. And again. Patterns once relied upon are no longer reliable. On April 14, 1943, over the Ruhr Valley, a single gunner chose defiance over obedience. Not out of panic, but out of instinct. He turned ammunition into pressure, pressure into disruption, disruption into survival. The fighters broke off that day. And the sky, for a brief moment, belonged to the bombers.